Hello, everyone. I'm so excited. Day two of the service as a tangible experience conversation is live. This is the first check in. It's a minute to 8 p.m. West African time. So if you're joining us, please let's know where you're joining us from, what you do, how you found out about this conversation. And if you have questions, please do well to leave them for us. I'm very, very excited today because number one, this is the day two of the service as a tangible experience conversation brought to you. I am your host. My name is Clementina Busayo. I am the founder of Glorious Wheels Ushering Services, and I also champion the team at Professional Groomsmen. At Glorious Wheels Ushering Services, we teach the business of ushering. We provide ushers for global and corporate events, and we train ushers to be professionals. In the day one of our conversation, we spoke about how to use service as a tangible experience and change people's life. And today I am very excited because I have another guest and we're going to be talking about the art and science of service, especially how to handle a fall and how to use that experience to make better of our lives. I have no other with me than our guest today, Pastor Tai Adore. Ooh! You're welcome, sir. It's such a pleasure to have you here. How are you today, Sam?
Good evening, Busayo. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the
Pastor,
opportunity
can
to
we meet you?
converse. Yeah, this is Pastor Tayo. Some people call me Pastor Move and like that. And I pastor, I'm an accountant by training. And but I've been in the work of full-time ministry for 19 years now. And I
Wow.
thank God for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. First, I want to say thank you because you are the reason that this year's service as a tangible experience conversation is happening. Like the later part of this year has really been stressful. So in my mind, I was just like, I will call, I will corner you. But you said to me, Busai, we're going to have this conversation, fix the date, and I want to really say thank you. I also want to say thank you again for saying yes to this particular conversation despite your busy schedule. And I'm glad about the way you introduced yourself, saying that you're an accountant by training and you're been in full time ministry. And we're going to explore that around the conversation of service. So my first question to you would be that why did you study accounting?
Oh, well, accounting. So, you know, life, you stumble into a lot of things. Uh, when I was growing up, my father is an engineer. My mother is a scientist. She studies zoology. It was like an unwritten law in our house that everybody must go into the sciences. We're about six children, but I noticed that we exhibited different strengths. There were people who had so much strength in the very sciences like the physics, chemistry, biology, and some of us had more strength in the social sciences. I got to later know that the opinion of my mother at that time is the fact that if you're in the sciences, you have an opportunity to diversify. Even if you are not too strong in the sciences, you can move into the social science. But if you're in the arts, it seems like you are just teleguided to follow that trend. So, well, growing up, we have an uncle, and that's the first person I know that was an accountant and became chartered. Was working in part of the oil services in Nigeria, and then before what I know, my elder sister, who is the firstborn, she moved from sciences and studied accounting.
Oh,
The one after her, who is my eldest brother, moved from sciences and studied accounting. So But the one after him went into engineering, then that comes me. And when I came up, evidently around my SS1, I was very good with biological sciences. I mean, I
Okay.
started reading what we call modern biology as far as when I was in GS1. I could pick some of my mother's
Wow.
books that she used in the university when I was even in primary school, and I could just make meaning out of it. So biological science was easy for me, but physical science, which is physics, was too abstract for me. So somehow in my mind, I made up my mind I was going to go into social sciences, but with the decision that I wasn't going to go the route of accounting like everybody went. So because I studied and I discovered what was required for accounting, same thing required for banking and finance, required for business admin. I remember I had a conversation with my father and I told him I wanted to study business admin. Then my father, this is how I eventually got into account. My father had this conversation with me that I never forgot. He said to me that there are courses called professional courses and there are other courses. And the vision of professional courses is that you could be on your own after some time as an accountant. You could set up an auditing firm. He said, but you can't do that as a business admin graduate or a banking and finance graduate. Probably, he said, you want to go and own a bank? And so he gave me that perspective, and I saw that, well, like it was in the days when coming out of school, everybody was looking for a government job. But it gave me the opportunity to see that with that job, with that qualification, I could go into government job and I could at the same time find myself in private practice. And it made a whole lot of sense. And that was eventually I said to study accounting.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I've noted some things that we're going to build on as we continue. I know that one of the questions that people may have is that, oh, I can see some comments in the chat that some of the questions people may have is, oh, why is it the one talking about service as a tangible experience? But I'm very happy that you said that you're a full time ministry, which for me is the definition of typical service. But from your thoughts and how you've handled the conversation so far, I can see that you had a clear sense of direction at definite points in your life. So, at what point did you now tell yourself that, this accounting, I've done it too, but I have to go my own way pursuing God, especially doing ministry full time at the time you started it? It wasn't something that was fancy. Now, my mother was teasing me one day that a lot of you ladies now want to be pastor's wife. When me, I was growing up, pastor's wife is about
Nobody wanted to
fasting
marry a
and
pastor.
praying. But you people, you are carrying camera saying you are pastor's wife. So that as at then, I knew that it was not fancy. So how did you make that switch from accounting to going full time, knowing that this is a life of fasting, prayer, feeding people like me, our sinners when we come around, and every other thing that comes with it, especially the fact that people can also live and not look back? How did you make that transition?
Oh, well, so many lessons are packed in that question. Some I knew at the beginning, others I learned on the way. But the switch, it's number one, ministry is a whole lot different from any other secular endeavor. It's not just something you choose, it's what chooses you.
Mm,
I at the point I was taking that decision going into the university was another moment in which a decision came upon me, which is the knowledge of Christ. I wasn't, my father is not a pastor, my mother is not a pastor. We were born from a denomination where even if you have to be in the clergy, you will not marry, so it was not enticing. Um, so, but to cut a long story short, I got born again. I had a very, very, very strange, very definite encounter. I never needed to be told by anybody that I had a place with ministry. In fact, the question at that point was for people who are my mentors, it was, will he be able to even go through school and finish through? But I remember one of the counsels I received at that time, that one of my mentors told me, is he mentioned a statement from John chapter 4, where Jesus said, it is my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish it. So he said, apostolic people are finishers. This school you have gone into, you must finish. And it was like a way of, so, and I ran into so much of storms. Accounting was not necessarily the easy path I thought it was. And I was distracted a bit. I saw the crisis of our nation, where schools where to pass you had to buy handout. I was reacting to injustice in a way that I couldn't. As a young person, it was appalling to me. It brought me to a lot of crisis going through that. I had moments, but the truth of the matter at the same time was that I couldn't go back home and say I wasn't. So I had to go through it, but it was evident because even as a student, people that used to tell me that I was a full-time pastor but a part-time student, I started preaching from the age of 16. And I mean, from age of 17, 16, 17, I've been going to churches around. So it was clear that I had a date with destiny, but it's just to have the discipline to see through. And God helped me. I got the honors. It was tough. I got the honors. I finished. I even served, because at the same time I was following divine prompting. It was not easy, but by the mercies of God, by the age of 25, I was able to settle into the full-time ministry, and that's what I've done. At the age of 25, I pioneered the Faith Assembly and Streams. That is about 19 years ago.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. And I'm happy that we are having this conversation, because one of the things you said now is that you will not always know. And why I'm re-echoing this is that a lot of times I started Glorious Rose Ushering Services, and when we started, then the idea about ushering being a professional industry was not very popular. It was just
Yeah.
like one of those things people would do. And you also said something about pioneering, which would make me address people that are usually pioneering and professionalism. You said your dad told you that if you studied accounting, you're a professional. Every other person is others. So in the context of the industry before now, ushering was in the category of others. But this was me just feeling like, no, there, there has to be something more to this ushering. And then the word entrepreneur came by, which your wife was very instrumental in facilitating the trademark. So I want to say shout out to her. Thank you, Mama. And I say that because people ask me questions like, where do I start? And what I'm hearing you say is, start with what you have, and that it will not always be easy. Then you also need an accountability system, because you said something about you could not go back to tell your parents that you did not finish school. Which suggests to me that, imagine if you started your business, for example, let's say your ushering business, and a client has paid you for a job. You cannot come back to tell the client that, because I don't feel like doing the business again, I will not follow through. So I'm very thankful to you for mentioning all of this. And that will bring me to our core conversation today. So I titled this The Art and Science of Service, because like you've embodied, there is an heart to it. So, when I say heart, that means you have to come to a place that you embrace it. And I'm glad you said it chose you. So sometimes our path will choose us before we eventually embrace it. But there's also a science of it, because after you have made that choice, then there are some things you have to begin to put in place. For example, you have to know what you want to do. You started the Faith Rest Assembly. I know that you have preached on so many stages, and what that can look like for somebody starting a business could look like registering the business, talking about the business, setting up your team. All of that will bring me to something that is very pivotal in my journey and experience of you, which is the series Handling a Fall. So at some point, you had preached a series about how to handle a fall. I think Saul was the falling mighty, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
There is Mephibosheth, noonday, death at noonday, something like that.
that's
And after I
Ishbosheth,
read,
death
and I'm
at
glad you
midday.
read,
Yeah.
okay, okay, please read out the categories, please, if you don't mind, Pastor,
Okay,
so that
so it's
people
from
can
a book,
understand.
Handling a Fall. I had about 5 chapters with 5 different characters. Saul, the fallen mighty. We had Abner, the death of a prince. We have Ishbosheth, death at midday on his bed. We have Amasa, death from a friendly fire. And we have David, the righteous
Mm.
falls.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for saying that. For me, these are categories and seasons in somebody's life, especially in business. Like, you can do everything right in your business. And, for example, there could be a regulation in the country that would take out all your efforts. And that sounds to me like David, the righteous falling. Then it could also look like Saul, how are the mighty falling? Because there are some people that already feels like you're doing well, and like now something huge has happened and that person falls. Then there's Habna, who um the death of a prince. I think
Prince.
he was the one that, even though he could not execute what the king had told him and he died, there was somebody that died that his dead body stopped the battle.
Amasa. Amasa.
Yes. So, oh, that's death from
From friendly fire.
a friendly fire, because he thought the person was coming to help him, which means that
Help him.
we would
Yeah.
find ourselves in seasons where you think that this is a good partnership. Oh, if only I would win this grant, then you win the grant, and the terms and conditions starts coming in. Oh, you cannot post about your stuff, you cannot do this, it has to include this and all of that. I want us to start unpacking it.
Yeah.
Is a fall is fall final? Like, when you fall, is it a final state? That would be my first question, because we make mistakes. We fall, like really fall, and again, it could look like refunding a customer, it could look like putting in your best, but things did not go as planned. So is fall final? Is it a final state?
Thank you, Sai, for that question. Definitely, I will never be able to tell you that a fall is a final state. But what I will even say is that it looks to me that a fall is an inevitable thing.
Mm,
That at one point or the other, everybody will fall. And why do I say so? I said a statement to somebody, I think a couple of days ago. I said, the scripture says, he that walk with stones will be hurt by stones. Somewhere in the book of Ecclesiastes. If you're a stone uh, carver or somebody that walk with stone, you are going to get wounds with stone. Whatever you are doing that will bring forth productivity will bring forth its own challenges. And so in life, vision is beautiful, is alluring, but fulfilling it is challenging.
mm,
And part of the challenges of fulfilling a vision is that there will be moments when you will fall. There will be moments when you will hit walls that you never envisaged. There will be moments when it will look like you don't even have any other thing in you to go beyond that moment. But like the scriptures encouraged us that the righteous falls 7 times, but he rises again. And by that, it's already telling you that a fall is not final. But as I said, it might not be totally
mm.
inevitable.
Thank you so
from
much
your
for
job.
saying that. But I like that a fall is inevitable, which means that in delivering these services, there are things that would not always go as planned, but is not final. So let me just say to our audience, one of the things you should know about Pastor Ty is that he has authored some books. One of it is Handling a Fall that we are talking about currently. We are going to get into another book that is going to be telling us about. But within the context of this service as a tangible experience conversation, we want to see how to handle a fall. So based on these character types that we have, who do you think what do you think are the characteristics somebody should have? We've established that a fall is inevitable, right? It's part of the journey. But what are the characteristics that one should have to help us handle or maximize? Yes, that's the word, to help us make the best of that fall using any of the examples we have.
Beautiful. That's a fantastic question. Uh, we mentioned different characters in the book. We mentioned Saul, the fallen mighty. The story of Saul is a very tragic story. Saul, the first king of Israel, because he started so powerfully. He started almost being a prophet, prophesying. He started with so many signs. He ended in the house of a necromancer. One of the things we should learn from that is that nobody should overestimate himself. No matter how brilliant,
Mm,
no matter how eloquent, no matter how powerful your expressions are, you have to just stay at the cutting edge of whatever you are doing. Because if you don't, you will fall so behind and become a caricature of yourself that you cannot even find yourself. Abner, I said Abner was the death of the prince. Abner was the commander of Saul's army. He was on the wrong side
Abner, death of a prince.
of a prince. He was on the wrong
Mm,
side. He was a commander of Saul's army fighting against David. But yet David was able to x-ray inside of him that even though he was the commander of Saul's army, he saw some valor inside him. He saw some power. And that's, you can even learn from your enemies. You see, sometimes
mm,
you learn and see how people who are not doing the right things are so passionate about what they are doing. And you ask yourself, so you who have the right thing to do, what are you doing about it? If Abner could defend his master Saul to death, how much more people who are standing on the truth? And that's why David referred to him at his death as a prince. I don't know whether you get the picture. There are so many things that we could learn. We talked about Ishbosheth. Ishbosheth was the man who trusted in other people, to establish his kingdom. He was just killed like a fowl on his bed. Amasa dead from friendly fire. So, but the most important person that we learned how to rise from a fall from is David.
mhm.
And David was the one that had very funny stories, slept with Bathsheba, you know, um, killed Uriah. But the most important thing that I think I mentioned in that book about David is that he was a man that has shown mercy. And the Bible says, when you show mercy, you will reap mercy. One of the things that can help us when we fall is to learn, how do we handle others when they fall? How do we handle others in their weaknesses? We must be merchants of hope. We must be merchants of mercy. People will not always get it. We must not be people that trample upon others when they fall. Because life is a cycle. Your own time will come. It might not be under the same expression, under the same circumstances. But everybody will need mercy at one point or the other. Everybody will need mercy. Everybody will need an opportunity. Every businessman will need somebody to talk about your business to somebody.
Mm,
And you must know that that need you have now is the needs of from other people. So sometimes when you are looking for 1,000, somebody is looking for 100. And you must be able to, and the needs are both valid. They are both important to them. As the 100 is life to that person, is the way 1,000 is life to you. And so we must, and David showed mercy to the house of Saul, took Mephibosheth, as you mentioned, the son of Jonathan. He did so much, even to this hand of his, to the life and the family of his enemy, not knowing that somewhere in his own journey at a point, he too will need mercy. So one of the character we need to have is that even in our strength and in our victory, we should be very moderate. We should be very temperate in everything we do. When we are getting it, we should be temperate. And when we are missing it, we should be hopeful, because there's always power to rise from the fall.
Wow, this is so good. The first person you talked about was Saul, and that you have started well does not mean you should overestimate yourself, which looks like if you are in any industry at all, if you're doing very well, your feedback and reviews are always great. Don't overestimate yourself, because there's somebody there waiting to disrupt it. Then
Yeah.
for Abner, you said you can learn from your enemies. This is just studying your competition instead of instead of trying to drag them down. Study them. What are they doing that is making them stand out, and apply it to yourself. And this David's own, in fact, as you were talking about it, it just occurred to me. So I started this business while working full time in a bank, and it was, in fact, the way I worked, I did not even used to have access to my phone. But what you said about treating people well reminded me that at every point I needed help, there was always somebody within my team that was willing to step up. And now that you're saying it, I look at it that sometimes the nature of what we do in the ushering business would, maybe you want to get things done and you are tempted to shout at people. But you realize at the end of the day, do you know that, pastors, I get masters applying to be an usher, and I'm thinking to myself, why is this person applying for this
For
type of.
this,
Yes, before now it used to be like, you school people just quickly do it and go, but now like people send in proper application, and that is also to show that the industry is going. But it's not because people lack value or what. It's just to show you that there are seasons in life, and how you treat those people really matter. And because it's service, it's not something that maybe is a product that people can easily see and estimate the value. Is in the way you treat people, is in the way you show mercy, even when they are not getting it. So if your team is not getting something right, that should show you that, okay, maybe there is a knowledge gap and you may want to invest in training. If they are not showing up beautifully, that means you may want to help them plan ahead of time. Give them a checklist of, let's say, this is the type of clothes you should have. Ensure that your clothes is ironed. Some of those things can help put structures in place that would help you get your ultimate outcome. And I really want to say thank you, because as you're saying these things, I can see how relatable it is in our industry. Which will bring me to when you wrote this book, because I've been, so let me confess again. I have so many confessions for you. After I read your book, like it was just like there was fire in my bones. So I went to YouTube and I talked about the book, and for some reason people started watching that particular video. That was my first viral video on YouTube way back. In fact, I was very surprised because people just kept watching it. So I
because
now
you
that
gave us good service.
yes. Which will bring me to what inspired you to actually write this book, because you could have preached the message and just said people were blessed, but at some point you decided to put it into a book. Why did you make that decision?
So thank you, Busayo. That book came out in 2021. That should be, I wrote it to commemorate my 40th birthday.
Oh,
But the message was preached in 2011. That's 10 years before the book came out. And but the message was so significant. Number one, I have a program I call the Pure Language Congress that I started in the year 2006. And it was under the platform of that program that I had the program handling it for. That particular program, 2011, was the first of that meeting, that series of meetings that my wife today joined. She came for handling a fall, and it was so very dramatic and strategic in our journey. In fact, it was a message that God used to help her a lot. So I need to make another confession. It becoming a book today is my wife.
Wow. Hey,
It
mama.
wasn't me. In fact, I used to tell her in private that I probably should have written her name as the author of the book, because she did all the compilations, she got all the messages. I was not even recording on the best devices at 2011, but with the little we had, she worked with whatever we had. She got all the messages. She worked with some set of other people, and I was just reading through the book today, and I was amazed, because I know what went into it, and I was looking at the pages, and we decided that we're going to make it a very. I mean, I personally, as a person, and this might speak to service, I have not always been very moved with the way people, Christians, pastors write books, because sometimes it looks to me that they have a ready market that they can throw whatever they write on, that will, by sentiment, buy the book. I didn't want that. I want something that was of quality. I mean, if I want to write a book every year, if I want to write 3 books every year, by the privilege of God, by the amount of speaking engagements I have and time I have to speak, I can. But I always want to write on something that really express the burdens of my heart, something that can stay, and be relevant over a period of time, something that another generation can pick up and read and get the lessons, and that message. So one of the things that made me to consider that message is I saw it as a valid lesson that is transgenerational. And I wanted to do something that people are not just going to read and buy as I have my pastor's book in the house. I wanted it to be something that they could continue to read and derive value from, that it is still speaking. The Bible even said Abel was dead, but he was yet speaking. So even if somebody was not even a member of my church or ministry, he will see value in picking up that book. And that was important. And we gave it everything, to standard publishing, to putting it on Amazon and all those other things, so that people can have access to it. And God has been gracious to us with it, and that's why I chose to have handling for. It's strategic for my destiny, strategic for the story of my family, especially my wife, and it's something that has been a blessing to many people, and a lot of people for over years. That particular message, that particular series, people kept coming back to it. People who are not even members of our church, people kept asking for that series. I don't even know whether I can get the extracts anymore.
Yeah.
How do I record it? But it made a lot of meaning and impact on people, and that's why it became.
I'm part of the people. The people is me. I'm part of them. Thank you so much, sir, because you touched on something that is now beginning to be a context or bone of contention now. You touched on value. And I like the fact that you spoke from value from a transgenerational point of view, which means that there are some things that we can do with our businesses that it would like outlast us. And as I heard you speak, I just heard it like it's people, the investment you make in people. For example, if people work with you, you treat them well, even if the business no longer exists, people can take that lesson and create something that outlasts you, and maybe come back to even still use that lesson to maybe promote you. For example, there are some people that they will always name things after. They will name roads after them, schools after them. And I don't think that for some of those people is because maybe they are even alive or they are paid, but because they did something that impacted people so much so that people would always make them a reference point. And I want to
Yeah.
encourage anybody that is in a line of business, for example, ushering, or you're just pursuing life generally, do things in a way that it gives so much value that people were happy that they engaged you. So thank you so much, Pastor, for sharing that. And I want to come to your new book. N- the first thing I want to say about your new book, please, Pastor, tell us. Somebody is asking that they want to come and learn from Mama. Reach out to me. I am a manager. Please tell us about the new book, especially the title. When I saw the title, I said, Flesh and Blood did not review this title, because what was Pastor thinking about when he had this title? So please, Pastor, talk about the new book, the title, and what inspired that title.
All right. So that this is a copy of the book we've been discussing, handling the
And in the
fall.
form.
Fall. So the new book that I just came out in 2025 is what I called The Five Brothers of the Rich Man. The Five Brothers of the Rich Man. And well, Jesus gave a parable or a story in the Bible, in the book of Luke, when he said, there was a rich man and there was a poor man named Lazarus who was, eating from his gates and eating from the crumbs that fall off his table. And that this man, eventually the same fate befell the two of them. The rich man died, Lazarus also died. But they had a different destinations. Lazarus was carried to Abraham's bosom. The rich man found himself tormented in hell. And the rich man now said that Abraham should send Lazarus to his brothers who are still alive so that they will not come to where he was. And he said he had five brothers. So those are the people I'm examining in that story. People have looked at, when you look at that, you look at Abraham, you look at Lazarus, you look at the rich man. There's an obscure set of people in that story that people have not given too much consideration to. And those are the five brothers of the rich man. And God said, Abraham said something that really troubled me. He said to the rich man, he said, they have Moses and they have the prophet. He said, if they are not persuaded by those people, even if a man rises from the dead, they will not believe. And that alarmed me, that what type of hardness of heart could be in the life heart of men, that even if a man rises from the dead today and look at them and tell them this is what is on the other side of life, that they will not believe. So it became a source of inspiration for me. And it was even from another set of messages I preached to. And it's followed the same order. Somebody was so blessed by it and just told me, Pastor, this must be a book. In fact, he started working on the project before I was brought into it, before I had to take over and work on it. So, but the major thing there from it is to examine the hardness of the hearts of people. Even in life, even in this, but even in business terms, wisdom is everywhere. We see it every day, but not everybody observes it.
That's
We've
true.
seen things that failed, and we are still repeating the same cycles of failure. We've seen the way others handled opportunities that came to them and they mismanaged it. And even though we've seen it, most of us are still repeating the same errors. There are not new things happening in the world. What has made men fall from history have been the same things. Somebody said, it was a Yoruba preacher, that there are three things that destroy people. It's the lust of the
Money.
flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. It is money, women, and pride.
Men.
In Yoruba, I say, O meta, owo, obìnrin, àti ògo. There's some people who put another extra onje. It looks
That's so
it looks
true.
it looks like something you could play on, but amazingly, it's
Hmm.
still a valid power that the enemy is still using over and over again. And we need to examine why our hearts are so hardened that we cannot learn from the things we see. So it's what I x-rayed in the book that made me to write the five brothers of the rich man, to make sure that we examine ourselves, that we have not become so hardened that we cannot learn from the opportunities that God has given us.
Wow, wow, wow. Do you know that as you explained the title, the first thing that occurred to me is paying attention to the details. So, in this business we do, one of the things is that clients can tell you that I need so um particular set of ushers, for example, to do. In fact, there was a client that hired us one time, Pastor. The brief was simple. She said there will be a particular set of people. They will wear this particular clothes. I need you to ensure that they get everything we share in this party. And do you know that when we go to that party, the temptation was to pay attention to everybody. But having gotten that brief, I kept telling my team that this set of people, anything you are sharing, take it to them first. And the rating of the client of how well we did was based on our
On
obedience
that,
to that. It did not matter if there was no seeds, if we looked good. And you just thought on how I wrote it, that is pay attention to the details. That's what makes the difference. If you are here, you are starting a business, you are trying to win a client. If a client says, I want, for example, hostesses, don't go and say we will provide you with ushers. Use the same words the client is using to engage you. Use that same words to engage the client back. And another thing you said is that whatever is going to be to our making is not very far from us. You said your second book followed the pattern of your first book, which, if I were to maybe make an assumption, if we were supposed to maybe come up with a project and say this is a Pastor Tayo Adare project, we want to write books on your behalf, quote and unquote, all we need to do is to listen to your messages. Then maybe based on those messages, what was the impact of those messages, and the messages with the type of impact that people could not stop talking about, write them into books. So whatever would make you stand out is already in your hands. Like, and what you said, Pastor, I wrote it in my book. That's the Profitable Entrepreneur book. I said, what is in your hand? A lot of people would listen to this particular live session and say to themselves, oh, I'm not like Clementine, I'm not in Lagos. But you're not nurturing business, you are in Ibadan. Ibadan is so big that people are looking for people that are not far away. They will not hire people in Lagos, but because you have not started the business, they are not seeing you. And you're not getting blessed because you have not done it. Ah, God, Pastor, I feel like I was going to start preaching.
uh,
But this is so good. And the last thing you said is, what is the hardness? Like, are we examining ourselves that our art is not adding? The way I hear that for our business is feedback. That was a feedback God was giving the man, that see, if they cannot already listen to the people that are there, if you cannot listen to your team, if you cannot improve on what you currently have now, if you pay for a coach that is in US, because sometimes we fall into this trap, especially now with social media. You have to tell yourself that maybe if I was living in Lagos, maybe if I moved to abroad, which is not bad, my life will be better. But where you have the feedback you already have you worked on
it's
it?
important. Yeah.
Hope is not that your heart is hardened, that you are not even paying attention to what is already in front of you. Wow. Pastor, please, where can people buy this book? Because this is so good. This is so
Well,
good.
so these books are accessible. You can get them on Amazon.com. Amazing, but for now you can get Handling a Fall only as Kindle on Amazon now. The physical copies we are going to have a print. but you can order for five brothers of the rich man is wide. You can find it on many reputable stores. It's on Amazon, it's on
Okay.
Barnes and Nobles, it's on it's on eBay, it's on Waterstones, it's on I mean it's just so wide everywhere. And you can get it in three versions. You can get it as format, you can get it as paperback, and you can get it as hardback, hard cover
Mm.
back. So there are three versions of it on, and you can get it from all those stores I've mentioned. Almost all reputable bookstores. I mean
Mm.
that you can, so you can always get the book, and it will be delivered to you. To the,
If you don't
but
mind me
yes, ma'am.
asking, sir. Okay, please go ahead.
At the same time, you can, if you are within Nigeria, there is um, there is a place you can always, if you follow me on, you can follow me on Facebook, Adari
Okay.
Omotayo, or you follow the church Faith Rest Assembly and Streams. You can place orders from that place on the Facebook. You can drop messages, you will be responded to, because we have
Okay.
people within the system here that can easily get it to you if you cannot go through
Mm.
the online delivery system.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. So, what I wanted to ask you about this book before we move away from the books and how it ties out to service as a tangible experience is that what is that thing about the book that really I don't know if you're in the habit of reading your book. When I get stuck, I read my own book, and sometimes I don't have to finish reading the book. I just know what to do. So, what is it about when either you've written the book or you read the book that makes you feel like, oh, makes sense? If you don't mind sharing.
Okay, well, sometimes, like we say, that the faintest pen is sharper than the strongest memory. I still read some of my books and I'm amazed at the quality of thoughts that are packed in them. There are so many things I have said that I don't have forgotten until I go back to the book and read them, and they come back to me,
Mm,
you know, and and they become a blessing to me. And they when I hear their testimonies too, they are encouraging. It makes me know that this can make meaning across the nations of the earth. It's not just limited to where we are. But so I sometimes maybe it doesn't come as easy for me like you to pick my book sometimes. I'm the hardest critic of myself.
we all are.
I'm not even sure that would qualify for everybody because I could be very hard on myself. And something I would say that why did I write it like this? Maybe I should have written it like this. I don't. Uh, but
Until somebody will quote that
until
place, same
somebody
place for
quotes it
you.
and it's
That
the
we.
whole words to them, then I say, okay, maybe you made a lot of sense. So sometimes I'm even afraid to open it. But at the end of everything, I believe the message therein blesses people, empowered by the wisdom of God and the strength of God.
Wow, thank you so much for saying that. So today I shared a newsletter that I write on LinkedIn from every 2 weeks. I started doing that recently. And what I wrote about was on documenting. And this is what I hear you say, just in summary, that the faintest pen is sharper than the brightest memory. A lot of times people undermine their worth because they are not even taking records. For example, if you started something and let's say you sell earrings, for example, and you have sold 100 pieces of that earrings, but because you are not documenting it, you don't know. So you're pitching to somebody and the person is saying, what do you do? You say you sell earrings, and the person says, how many have you sold? You just say, "Ah, I sell it from time to time." But imagine if you have documented and you know that you have sold over 100. You can
Mm.
easily just say that, I've sold over 100. Maybe you tracked 20 were for bridal events, and maybe five went abroad it's different than, oh, I just sell earrings. The story is
Yeah.
very, very different. So thank you for touching on that, because you just reminded me about what I posted today on documentation. And as we wind down this conversation, I want us to move to what you do full time, which is pastoring. And again, that's one of the reasons I just knew that, this conversation, I know that pastor is going to nail it, because it's about service and having to, number one, either let go of people or people let go of you. And that can usually be very painful, because sometimes, for example, in our business, one of the things we've consistently done this year is to train. So we've been training from like February. We've been training, we just completed one in November. And sometimes it looks like maybe people are not getting it, or people get it and they leave. And I know that with pastoring, there's what is constantly called the season of transitions. People that may leave for reasons that were like beyond their control, either they relocated, or people that just leave and you just never really can say that this is where this person left to. In delivering a tangible service, like in your case is pastoring, how do you undo those seasons of transition, especially either when has to do with letting people go or people going away? Let me give you an example, sir. So very recently in the business, we were planning for an event, and we had provided transportation. And for some reason, some of the team members were discussing, and they posted a an audio to the general group, which was not supposed to be for the general group. And the person was complaining, oh, why are we coming out that early, and all of that. When I listened to the conversation, the way it sounded to me was like when Caleb had gone to spy the land. When the
To the
spies
land.
had gone to spy the land, and 10 came back that we are not able, and one was saying, sorry sir, that we are well able. And I felt to myself that if this type of conversation goes around the team, then people would be discouraged. So as a discipline in that moment, that person could not partake in that particular event. So we had to say, you know what, we appreciate the fact that you've aired your opinion, is very valid, but coming to the group to drop that type of conversation, which she did not intend to drop on that group, it was just a mistake, eventually led to her being taken out of that particular team for the event. So comes back to my question: when you're dealing with people, either because you have to let them go, or I know you have spoken about the fact that we have to be merchants of hope. So again, and this particular issue around this person, this is not the first time the person has done something around that area, actually. So that is why we even took the person of, she's not a first time offender. So how do you address that, either in having to say, you know what, maybe you're not getting this and we have to change your line of expression, or people just up and leave, like people maybe not showing up, they gave you their word, oh, we're going to be there, we're going to do this, but they don't show up. How do we manage and undo that?
Thank you for your question. Incidentally, earlier today, I think a lot. I was going through a thought in my mind. There is this very common expression we use that the front door that brings people into your life should be so wide, and the back door through which they leave should be so narrow. And if that happens, that means you have a higher retention rate. Then I told myself, I said, if that statement is absolutely true, then Jesus failed. And the reason why I said that is that Jesus healed 10, but only one returned. Jesus finished preaching at a point, and a crowd of 5,000 people disappeared when he started bringing out some thoughts that were too radical for them. And he even looked at the 12 that remained and asked them, do you also want to go? So it looks to me that Jesus, it's as if the back door of Jesus' own house was so large that it was just losing people in droves. But I take no wisdom out of. I'm not saying that statement is absolutely false,
Mm,
but because people sometimes, when things happen, people make us feel it's our fault.
mm,
We don't manage people well, but sometimes what will have to happen will happen. You said it. There are some movements that are inevitable.
yeah.
There are people that will come into your life for life. There are others that will come into your life for a time. And when that season is over, they will move. And not everybody is going to even move and live on the best premises. Some are going to say some things about you. And that is why, even in business and anything in life, you must be strong.
Mm,
You must be strong. God must help you. You must be strong. Because many a times in life, when you really need people, you won't find them.
mm,
It's just it's painful, but it's the truth. And you must, I have a very funny statement I used to say in our church. I said there are only two people that cannot leave our church that I'm persuaded of. It's me and my wife. I trust God. I still want to trust God absolutely that at least my wife will be always be there, and I believe in that. Now, not because I don't believe in people, but I have not placed my mind, my heart in such a place that it becomes a ping pong for people. Because when people need to act, they do whatever works for them.
mm,
That doesn't mean that I don't work on my human relations. I don't work because
mm,
sometimes we really offend people. We all offend in many things. The scripture says, if a man does not offend in word, that man is a perfect man.
perfect.
And so offenses will come. We do our best as much as possible, but at the same time, even in your best state,
Yeah,
it won't make sense to everybody. So keep
yeah.
believing in what you are doing.
Mm,
You don't drop your hands. There's a very funny story when David wanted to go. They've taken his family and the family of all his men. I think that should be in 1 Samuel 30. The Amalekites have raided them. And the Bible says David asked God, and God said, "Pursue, arise, overtake, and recover all." When
yeah.
David was wanted to go, there were still people, 200 people following him who were too tired not to go. But David kept moving
Good boy.
on, you
Mm,
know, and eventually he got back everything. I imagine if David just dropped his hands at that moment because some people
mm,
refused to move on. And
mm,
so you can't just drop your vision and your goal because some people are not persuaded. That's
yeah.
why God started with you alone when nobody was there. Because God knows,
Mm,
God had determined that you are going to be the recurring personality that He needs at any time. So
wow.
that if He finds you, if the seed is always still there, He can always grow the tree back. And I pray that the Lord will surround us with faithful people. People will find fulfillment
Wow.
in
Wow.
walking side by side with us.
Mm,
That's what I will say. But we have to always be
wow.
strong and continue moving.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. This is a good place to end this. Like, you need strength as a founder. You are the seed in your business, so you cannot afford to give up. It's okay for you to encourage yourself. People will not always be there, but as long as you keep the vision in front of you, you stay focused and you keep showing up, you would eventually be able to make do with it. So believe in yourself enough to trust that the instruction you have, whatever reason you're doing the business for, is enough to get you going and it would grow as it goes. Thank you so much, Pastor. I want to say thank you so much, sir, for the gift of your time. I know that this season is a very busy one, but I believe that with this, people would understand that service, though intangible, is something that can change our lives in beautiful ways. And that as long as founders like myself do not give up, would eventually make good of what we have. And I want to say thank you to everybody that joined us. I can see about five people online. Thank you to Luani for engaging. And with that, is officially a wrap at Service as a Tangible Experience Conversation Day 2. And I want to say thank you so much, Pastor Tayo, for coming, for everyone
Pleasure.
joining us. Bye for now. And if you're catching the replay, please drop your chat in the comment section. And please do not forget to follow Pastor Tayo. That's Pastor Tayo Adari on Facebook and Omotayo Adari on Instagram. And you can also follow the Faith Rest Assembly and every other expression. Thank you so much, Pastor.
My pleasure.
Bye, everyone
Thank you
online.
so much. Have a
Bye.
great night.